Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about the mid-back today. So we'll dive right in, starting with the trapezius muscle. The origin of the trapezius is the EOP. It goes all the way across the superior nuchal line, attaches to the nuchal ligament in the posterior cervical spine, and attaches to the spinous process of C7 all the way down to T12. The insertion is the clavicle, the acromion process, and the spine of scap. So it attaches or inserts at all three of these. And the action of the trapezius is to elevate, depress, and to retract the scapula. And it is innervated by the cranial nerve 11, the spinal accessory nerve. The next muscle we'll be talking about is the latissimus dorsi. The origin of that muscle is at the same level as the inferior angle of the scapula at T6, and then it goes all the way down to the sacrum, and also attaches to the lower foreribs. So that's all the origin. The insertion is at the medial aspect of the humerus, and the action of the latissimus dorsi is to extend the humerus, internally rotate the humerus, and to adduct the humerus. And that is innervated by thoracodorsal nerve, which is nerve root C6, C7, and C8. The next muscle we'll be talking about is the rhomboid minor. The rhomboid minor sits on top of the rhomboid major. So the origin is from the spinous process of C7 and T1, and it goes and it inserts down at about the mid-scapula vertebral border. And so its action is to retract and elevate the scapula because that muscle is at a little bit of an angle. The next muscle we'll be talking about is the rhomboid major, and that goes from T2, 3, 4, and 5 spinous process all the way down to the inferior aspect of the vertebral border of the scapula. And so that will also retract and elevate the scapula because it is also at an angle. The next muscle we'll be talking about is the levator scapula, and that muscle, the origin is at the at the superior angle of the scapula, and it inserts at spinous process of the cervical vertebrae 2, 3, 4 in the posterior tubercle of the atlas. And it will help to laterally flex the head and to elevate the scapula. And that is innervated by the dorsal scapular nerve as well, nerve root C5, C6. And the last muscle we're going to be talking about for this video is the serratus anterior. The origin is the first 8 or 9 ribs, and it actually inserts at the anterior aspect of the scapula, close to the vertebral border, so anterior and medial to the scapula, and it will help to elevate the scapula as well as protract the scapula, and that is innervated by the long thoracic nerve, which is nerve root C5, C6, and C7.